now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to today's role play session with your host, Craig Proctor.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning to coaching members all over Canada and the United States. Today, we are going to help you handle your objections, and we're going to make sure that you understand the universal callback script, that this is a system that the better you become at the universal callback script, the higher the conversion will be. The end result to an awesome offer that you make means that you've got an appointment. And we're going to talk about making the offer so good that not only do buyers and sellers say, yes, I want that they actually show up at the appointment. Okay, some of you are saying, well, I'm setting appointments up, but they're no shows or whatever. It just really means that the prospect didn't actually understand the value in keeping that appointment with you. So I hope that you have your most common objections with you. You should write them down when you're on the phone this week and you're stumped by an objection. Make sure you write it down, because if you don't write it down, you might forget about it. And I'm not suggesting that we can convert every prospect. You won't. I didn't. But we should be able to deal with most of the objections that we get. And the harder they fight us, by the way, the more we don't want them anyway. And that's why what I preach is you need to have an abundance of leads. It's the only way that I know of to really grow your business and have a quantum leap, is you have to have an abundance of business, which gives you the luxury of being able to work with the very best buyers and sellers and ignore the rest. I mean, it's very liberating to no longer have to work with people that are going to waste your time, people that are going to lie to you or fight you all the way through the transactions. So this isn't just about making more money. That will happen too, but it's how you make the money. It's not only what you will be doing, but what you no longer have to do and who you no longer have to work with to make the kind of income that you want to make. So today, Andrea, our wonderful operator, is going to help me take as many questions and role plays as possible. Andrea, how are you doing this morning?
I'm wonderful.
Andrea said she just got back from it was a judging science fair competition.
Yeah.
It's at your child's school, and Andrea said she couldn't believe the attitudes of one of these children. You said you approached the display of one of the children, and you said to the child, what did you say? What is this?
I asked him what the title of his project was. We were supposed to get a good interview from the kids, and we weren't allowed to look at the title ourselves. So the kid's response to me was, "It's written right there. Why don't you read it yourself?" I was amazed.
Yeah, well, good luck to the next generation.
I have to say, yes. I have a 7-year-old myself, so it's not new to me, their attitudes, but it's always amazing.
Well, every once in a while we get buyers and sellers that give us attitude. So we're going to talk about that today and how to handle these situations. So you can ask your questions or make your comments using the chat box, or you can raise your hand and you can volunteer to do some role playing or share any other comments that you have. Let's start with the chat questions, Andrea.
Okay, we have Austin, and I'm assuming you want me to read them, Craig?
Yeah, because if I'm reading them, then I can't concentrate on answering them.
Good. Okay.
See, when I have James here,
Yes,
James can be answering, I can be reading, but
if we had one more host. So Austin's question is, I get stuck with the leads iffy or wishy-washy on timing and motivation, more so when they are tight-lipped, not opening up. Could you role play that with me? So Austin, I'm going to find and open your line. Austin, go ahead.
Good morning, Craig.
Good morning. So you're getting to do all the talking today, Austin, not Lynn.
I am. She told me last night, Austin, it's your turn. I'm on.
Okay, well, they're wishy-washy. So when you're asking them about timing and motivation, what kind of things are you hearing?
I'm not sure. Maybe. They're just non-committal. And particularly the ones that are just real short answer, real tight-lipped. Usually when they're talking, it gives me more time to think, where am I going to go next and what am I going to say? But when they're real tight-lipped, there's no time, and then there's those awkward pauses, and I don't quite know what to do. When I've asked them, are you planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? I don't know. If you were to move, would you?
Okay, well, first of all, Austin, be okay with awkward pauses. Just be okay with it. All right.
So
you don't have to fill every void with words. This is really important in negotiations, and we've all heard that. The person that speaks first loses. Many times, I'll give you an example. I'd be at a seller's home, and they would say, Craig, so can you go any lower on your commission? And here's my answer. No. Now, do you see the awkward silence?
Mm-hmm.
And then and then they're like, okay. We had to ask the question. It's an awkward silence, but sometimes silence can work to your advantage. Remember, it's probably awkward for them as well.
Okay.
So let's do a role play here. Now, I want you to be the tight-lipped seller. Okay, so we won't do the intro because that's not really a part of the problem here. So, blah, blah, this is, may I speak to Austin? This is Craig. I get it right into the question. So, Austin, are you folks planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months?
I don't know.
And if you were to move, do you think you'd be staying in the area? Would you be moving out of the area?
I don't know.
All right. And if you were to make a move, do you have any time frame on when you think that might be?
No, we're just looking.
Okay, you say you're just looking. Would you prefer to buy your next home or look around for your next home before you put your existing home up for sale when that time comes? Do you have a preference?
No.
Well, what I mean by that is, would you prefer to find your next home first, or would you prefer to have your home up for sale before you run out there and look at other properties?
I hadn't thought about it.
Well, it's a good thing to think about, because if potentially you're going to do this, of course you have to do one of the two first, right? You would either list your home for sale before you start looking at properties, or you would start looking at properties and find one you like before you list your home for sale. So it is an important consideration. While you're thinking about that, Austin, may I ask, do you have a realtor to help you when the time is right?
No.
Now, you had requested an area home sales report. So what was the motivation behind requesting that information? Do you have no real plans on doing anything for the rest of 2016?
Just wanted to see what it was worth.
Okay, well, I can give you a ballpark over the phone of what your home may sell for, but if you are sincere about making a move, I could give you a much more accurate assessment by coming over and having a look at it. What do you think you'd prefer?
I really don't know. I hadn't thought about it.
Okay, well, look, it sounds like you really aren't committed to making a move at this point. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
Would it be okay if I followed up with you at a later time?
Well, sure.
When do you think would be a good time for me to follow up with you?
Next week?
Okay, now first of all, I like that. So these are why I'm asking these questions, because before you said this week, everyone listening to this right now, Austin's thinking, well, this guy's a waste of time. Okay, but if you really weren't that motivated, why would you want me to follow up with you in a week? Okay, well, Austin, so you would like me to follow up with you in a week. So why don't we do this? Why don't we set a time right now to book an appointment? And let me ask you this. If I could get you in your pocket what you needed to make the move, do you think you're in a position right now to act?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so I like this guy. Okay, well, let's set up a time. What's better, days or evenings?
Evenings, probably.
So here's what's going to happen when we get together. I'm going to give you a detailed analysis of what your home is worth. I'm going to go over all the tips on what to do and what not to do to sell your home for the most amount of money. We can go through all the various closing costs, Austin, so you'll know exactly what you're going to have left in your pocket. We could talk about timing, and whether you should be buying first or selling first, and answer any of the other questions that you have. It's absolutely free of charge. You're never obligated to do anything. So you think that would interest you?
Sure, I guess so.
Okay, so I would set an appointment. Based on what? Have you given me any real reason to think you're motivated, other than the fact that you said it's okay for me to follow up, but what really caused me to want to meet with you is when I said, well, when do you think I should do that? You said follow up in a week. If you had no motivation and you were just trying to get rid of the salesperson, I don't think you would say call me in a week. You might say call me in a year, but I don't think you'd say call me in a week. So if the prospect responded that way, I probably would book the appointment.
The issue that I've had, Craig, is that I've talked to some of these wishy-washy, iffy people, and then when I get to that point about following up with them, they give me a short time frame, and I'm thinking, what's going to be different between now and a week from now if there's that iffy?
Don't be afraid to ask that question.
Okay.
Excuse me, Austin. I was just, you're saying follow up in a week. I'm just curious, what do you think will be different between now and a week from now?
Okay, I've got permission to ask questions like that.
Well, if you ask questions, you may save yourself a lot of time.
Okay.
What would be wrong with asking a common sense question? I mean, the fact that the prospect seems really not motivated, but then when you ask to follow up and they say, sure, and then you say, well, when would be a good time for me to do that? And they say in 1 week, it's like, it does beg the question, like, okay, you're not giving me anything here. You're not telling me anything about your motivation, your timing. However, you want me to call back in a week. I don't know. That didn't happen often to me. It usually was either or. The people that were non-specific, okay, the people that held their cards close to their chest, when I said, is it okay to follow up, those are the prospects more likely to say, well, you know what, Craig, we've got your contact information. How about we call you when the time is right? Or they would say, which means no. They're just, they're just saying no. You've asked them, is it okay to follow up? And they're saying, no, we'll call you. Don't call us, we'll call you. I think we can all read between the lines there, right? Now, if you've got too many leads, how much time do you want to spend with the guy that says, don't call us, we'll call you, Austin? You've got your answer, and the answer was no, and some of the prospects are going to say no. Some of the prospects are not going to be motivated. Some of the prospects are motivated, but they're never going to use you or I because they already have an established relationship with a realtor. So we just have to be okay. That's the purpose of the script. The purpose of the script is not to create motivation where motivation doesn't exist. We can't create timing or change the motivation no matter how good we are on the phone. All we can do is determine whether they are motivated and what their timing is. And if they're really motivated, we're going to book an appointment. And if they say, hey, Austin, I think we're good. I'll tell you what, don't call us, we'll call you. Well, the script did its job. You've got your answer. You may not like the answer, but you've got your answer. So I think sometimes, and you guys have heard me say this, we're guilty of putting too much time and effort into prospects that we should blow off right from the beginning. I would say you've got your answer.
Okay, I so naturally will tend to want to stray away from the script, so what I'm working on most is to discipline myself to stay just with the script. And then when I get into that scenario with the iffy, tight-lipped person, I feel like I'm getting off script if I ask those, like you say, common.
If you are you generating a lot of leads right now?
A fair amount, yeah.
Are you generating like more leads than you and Lynn can handle?
I would not say that.
Okay, then that's the problem. So we've got to fix that problem. Because if that was true, if you and Lynn were generating more leads than you could possibly handle, you'd have a different attitude about this. Here would be your new attitude. Every time you're wasting time with an insincere prospect means there's a really sincere prospect that you're not getting to. You see, right now there's no opportunity cost, right? Because you're like, well, if I'm not on the phone with this tight-lipped prospect, then I'm not on the phone with anybody. Right? So, yeah. So we want to raise the bar. This is the way I want to look at it. Raise the bar. So if you get resistance like this, you just don't need to be bothered with it, because you don't want to spend time with a less qualified prospect and not get to better qualified prospects.
Okay.
We have, let me give you an example in my business. I have real estate agents that call my office all the time. And sometimes the phone calls work their way through to me. Not often, but I had one yesterday. And the guy was in Calgary, Alberta, and he's calling and he's selling me on the fact that he should join Craig Proctor Coaching. The reason I answer the phone is I'm training a brand new lady. This guy says, I'm from Calgary, and all the top agents in Calgary are in Craig Proctor Coaching. And he goes, and I was in Ottawa, and all the top agents in Ottawa are using Craig Proctor Coaching. So I want to use Craig Proctor Coaching. Tell me how to sign up. But I have other calls, and the calls will come in like, yeah, I've never really heard of you, and like, tell me what you're about and why I should do this. Okay, so who would you rather talk to? I'd rather talk to the person that's already pre-sold and the person that has some motivation. So we've got to get you to the point where the answer becomes obvious, that you've got so much business coming in that you couldn't work with them all anyway. And if you couldn't work with them all anyway, you wouldn't have much patience for the guy that says, I don't know, yep, no, the one-word answer guy. I'm not saying I haven't converted those, but I'm saying, look, I think you've got your answer. In this role play, the guys, you said, Kenny, is it okay to follow up at a later time? And I said, I'll tell you what, Austin, we've got your contact information. We'll call you. Don't call us. We'll call you. So just know you've got your answer. You may not like it, but that's the answer. But the real answer for you and Lynn is let's ramp up the lead generation. So what you're doing is you're raising your standards. Okay? Think about your rules of engagement. Wouldn't it be great if there's a new sheriff in town and anybody that's like that, like, because you're not like that, Lynn's not like that. You're very personable. You're outgoing. Wouldn't it be great if you could work with people that were more like you?
Those people are enjoyed to work with.
Yes, yes. And not only would you make more money, but think about your experience in real estate. See, what I said a minute ago, it's not just about making more money, it's how you make the money and what you no longer have to do. Because working with poorly matched prospects, let's be honest, it's a drag.
Totally.
All right, so that's some good stuff that we brought out in this conversation here.
Greg, thank you so much. Yeah, sometimes we get off the phone, we look at each other and we say, man, that was a nice lady or that was a nice man. maybe 1 out of 10 we can say that with, and those are the people we really would like to work with, and we get more leads, that's what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, and look, if you generated 1,000 leads and you converted 1 out of 10, that's 100 transactions. Right? So, but maybe we could convert 2 out of 10, and that's 200 transactions. But the key is massive lead generation solves everything. All right, Austin, we better continue on here. I've got my next chat question is from Joseph. Joseph says, good morning, Craig. Lately, I seem to be getting stopped in my tracks when I ask, do you have a realtor to help you when the time is right? And they say yes. What's the best way to deal with that? Well, Joseph, I would say, well, are you 100% committed to that realtor? And they might say, well, what do you mean 100% committed? Well, there's a tremendous difference between real estate agents, what they do for you, and how much they charge to get the job done. Do you think you might be open to meeting with me as well? Let me repeat that again just so everybody can write it down. Do you have a real estate agent to help you? Well, we sort of have an agent, or they might say, well, what do you mean by that? Say, well, look, there's a tremendous difference between real estate agents and what they do to get your home sold and how much they charge to get the job done. Do you think you might be open to meeting with me as well? You're not saying don't meet with the agent that you have in mind. You're not saying ditch that agent for me. I'm just saying, would you be open to meeting with me as well? And that'll give you a clue. Some people will say no. Nope. Absolutely not open to meeting with you. You might not like the answer, but you've got your answer. Time to move on. Okay. Jose has an objection. Here's an objection I got at a listing appointment yesterday. They said, we need to think about it. We need to read the agreement over. Can we get a few days to think about it? By the way, you've got your answer. The answer is no. They've done all the reading and all the thinking they need to do. That's an excuse. I would say, well, why don't we go over the agreement together so I can explain it to you? I've been doing this for years. I'm a professional realtor, probably a little better qualified to explain all the clauses to you than you trying to figure it out on your own. Of course it's a lie. It's not true. Next question from Jordan Tanner. Craig, I'm having difficulty setting up tentative appointments when the prospects want to. They often get off the phone without a tentative appointment being booked. Well, you've got your answer. You see, Jordan, here's what happens. They say to you something like this, right? They say, hey, Jordan, you know what? I'd love to meet with you, but I've got to check my work schedule. But I'll call you back. Or I've got to check with my spouse, but I'll call you back. So, Jordan, you come back with a reasonable solution to this problem. You say, well, while we're both on the phone, why don't we at least set up a tentative time to get together? So when you check your work schedule or you check with your spouse, if it doesn't work out, just give me a call back and we can, on the off chance it doesn't work, and we can change the appointment. You see, that is a reasonable solution to this problem. If the prospect was sincere about wanting to meet with you, they would say yes. But Jordan, unfortunately, the prospect's not sincere about meeting you. So they don't agree to this reasonable offer that you've made. They say something else like, well, I don't know if we're quite ready to meet with a realtor yet. Or, you know what, we've got your contact information, Jordan. Why don't we call you when we're ready? So guess what? You've got your answer. They're not sincere about meeting you. We've got to be okay when the prospects don't live up to our standards. Many of them will not. Right? The reason we're asking the probing questions in the universal callback script is because we want to know the answers. Sometimes you're not going to like the answer. What's the solution? Thank you and have a great day. Next. Next question here is from Ellen Levy. out in the DC area. Ellen says, please give us your suggestions as to how to proceed if we only have a phone number from someone who called in on the hotline for a particular report. Well, Ellen, here's how it works. It's not ideal, but here's how it works. Ring, ring. Hi, this is Craig Proctor from ABC Realty, and someone from your household had called into my phone line, and they requested the area home sales report, and I just wanted to follow up and see if you folks had any moving plans. And you go right into the script if they'll let you. It's not ideal. It's a step above cold calling, but it's still better than cold calling because at least you know that this prospect or someone in the household had an interest in the area home sales report. Dominic is asking, what would you do if they said, hey, we're just curious, making a move in the next 2 years. We're just curious, we're making a move in the next 2 years. Would you set up a follow-up? Yeah, maybe. Remember though, in my world, I had so many leads. If they were moving, if it was longer than a year, I probably wouldn't. But I had a lot of people that were going to be doing something within 12 months. But there's no harm in having them in your database. And if they say 2 years, set a call back for 1 year. Lisa Nash says, Austin is great. You see that, Austin? You have fans here. Next question is from Marie. How do you handle a prospect who says he does not want to talk to a realtor and then goes back to your website the very next day? Do I call him back even if he said, do not call him anymore? Of course not. If a prospect says, don't call me anymore, respect that. Move on. They're doing you a favor. Look, the prospect I don't like is the prospect that leads me on for 6 months. The prospect says, yeah, Craig, it's okay to follow up with me. When would be a good time to do it? Oh, call me back in 6 months. And then I call them back in half the time, 3 months, and they say the same thing. Craig, it's okay to follow up with me. Call me back in 2 months, and I follow up with them a month. And I keep following up, and eventually I find out they're not motivated or they never were going to use me. I would much rather prefer the prospect say right from the get-go, hey, Craig, guess what? I'm never going to use you. Okay, my brother-in-law is a realtor. Or, you know what, really, we have no moving plans at all. Be okay when they say go away. They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting your offer because of timing and motivation. And some of the prospects are going to say no. It's like we're surprised that everyone that raised their hands isn't a good fit. If anything, I want you folks to have massive lead generation so you can raise your standards, to raise the bar. The reason we're asking the questions again is because we want to know the answers. Don't be upset when the answer is no. Be okay with that. You know, they drill for oil, right? They drill for oil. Why do they drill for oil? To find out if there's oil there. Sometimes there's not. Right? Sometimes they drill oil, they're drilling oil wells, and they find out there's no oil there. Well, you're drilling for oil. You're asking probing questions because you want to determine the motivation and timing. Sometimes there is no motivation. Sometimes you're not going to like their timing. Next question is from Lisa. Lisa says, what I like is that Craig matched Austin's tone in casual nature. What do you think about that, Austin? We're like a match. Helen says, wow, absolutely amazing. I'm so glad I'm listening to this. Thank you, Craig. Joseph says, Craig, setting the appointment is getting easier and easier. My question is, do you call back and pre-qualify the appointment prior to going on it? Joseph, I assume you're talking about a buyer. If the buyer owns a home, I'm not as worried about pre-qualifying them as I am with a first-time buyer. With a first-time buyer, what I've taught you folks is once you have the appointment verbally agreed to, but before you get off the phone, you're going to ask a couple qualifying questions. Okay, so you say to your first-time buyer, okay, great, so we're going to meet you at my office tomorrow at 7 p.m. It's at the RE/MAX office over in Stellar Drive. And here's what's going to happen when you get there, and we talk about everything they're going to get. And then I say, by the way, have you been pre-qualified for financing? Most times I say, well, what does that mean? The first-time buyers, well, do you have pre-authorization for a home loan? No, we don't. Well, look, would it be okay if I had my lender, Bill, give you a call this evening? He can pre-qualify you for financing right over the telephone. That way, when we get together at my office tomorrow at 7 p.m., we won't waste any time looking at homes above or below your price range because you're going to know exactly what price range you're in. Also, my lender can get you proprietary financing. He can get you the lowest interest rates, the lowest down payment home loans, meaning you'll save money. Also, when you're pre-qualified, you carry a bigger stick. You can negotiate harder, right? You've got a stronger offer versus another buyer that you may be competing with that hasn't been pre-qualified. So would it be okay if my lender, Bill, gives you a call? They always say yes. I call lender Bill will call me back and say either that appointment's good to go or they're not. And if they're no good, my lender might say, well, look, they got credit problems. They were bankrupt 2 years ago. I can graciously get rid of that appointment. Call them right back. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. First-Time Buyer. Craig Proctor here again. Look, I understand you talked to my lender, Bill. Bill just called me and said you've got some credit issues that need to be worked out. So he's going to place you on a 6-month plan. I think it's best that we postpone our appointment tomorrow night and that I follow up with you at a later time as your credit issues are being dealt with. Okay, why do we do it that way? Because it's smarter than what we're taught to do in real estate. Here's what we're taught. This is what I was taught anyway. You get an ad call, a sign call, you get a buyer on the line. Right away, we're taught to go into these, what's James McDonald called them, Andrea? Intrusive questions. So, Andrea, you be my buyer. So, Andrea, I notice you're calling on my listing on such and such a street. Now, by the way, we don't know each other and we just met, but what's your credit history like? What's your combined family income? What's your job stability? Andrea, what are you thinking? Like none of your business, right?
For sure.
Right, so you get more bees with honey. So we're going to lead with benefit. The pre-qualifying is what you do at the end of the conversation after the appointment's booked. And if we can't help them, it's easier to get rid of an appointment that we don't want than to start by asking intrusive questions of the prospect, which is, by the way, a huge turnoff. Adele Langdon is asking this. I'm having trouble with my bold leads. I'm just curious. I'm having trouble with my bold leads. Just curious people that immediately say, I'm not moving. I then feel weird asking the other qualifying questions. How do you go from there? Well, Adele, let's do a role play. If Adele can raise her hand.
Adele, you should be open now. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Good morning, Adele.
Oh, good morning. How are you this morning, or this afternoon for you?
It's not this afternoon quite yet. It's 11:40 over here on the East Coast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my problem with this is a lot of the just curious, they kind of interrupt me almost and say, oh, no, I'm just moving. I mean, I'm not moving. I just was curious. Yeah, no. And then I feel ridiculous going, okay, so where if you were to move, would you be staying in the area? So I don't know whether to just drop right back down to, you know, the offer or following up.
Well, look, I would rather feel ridiculous but be absolutely sure that they're not going to do anything before I jettison the lead. So that's why, if you take a look at this script, and I think I've mentioned this to you guys before, isn't it kind of amazing? If we go down the right-hand side, the seller's side, Andrew, if you can highlight question 1 and question 3, like you folks all do realize it is the same question.
Yeah.
The reason I ask the question twice, question one is, are you folks planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? And then I throw them a curveball with question two. If you were to move, would you be staying local or moving out of the area? Then I go right back with question three, which is, and if you were to move, when do you think that might be? The reason I do it that way is, guess what? Quite often, they give me a different answer to question three than how they answered to question one. Here's what we know. Most people are not very good liars. So I've designed the script. I've designed the script with that in mind. So, for example, Adele, if you walk into my store, you're not freaked out when you walk in if I say, "May I help you?" You're fully expecting that, and you have a script, a well-rehearsed script, and you would say, "No, thank you. I'm just looking."
Right.
Now you walk into my store. I'm going to freak you out now because you're not expecting this. Adele, have you been in our store before?
Yes.
Well, we have a special over here on this rack for 15% off for past clients like you. And you see now, I'd like you, and I'm bringing you over there, and a dialogue begins and sales happen, which is way better than, "Can I help you?" "No." Salesperson goes back to the cash register, and you look around and leave the store and no sale is made. So be okay asking them what you believe are redundant questions, because they sometimes they actually will say something, but I don't care. But many times they don't. I'm frankly surprised. I'm frankly surprised in the tens of thousands of calls that I made that more seller prospects didn't say, "But you just asked me that." I get it once in a while, but I would rather be sure. I'd rather have that insurance and continue down the script, even if the answer is no, 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 because now I can hang up the phone and know with confidence that the answer really is no. I can scratch this one off the list and move on to the next one, not worrying that I'm going to see this one on the hot sheets in 2 months listed with one of my competitors.
Can I be the prospect and you be the...
Let's do it.
Okay.
Hi, Adele. Oh, sorry. Hi, may I speak to Adele? I can't assume Adele's going to answer the phone. Ring, ring. May I speak to Adele, please?
Yeah, this is her.
Hi, Adele. Look, I received your request for home evaluation information on your property at such and such address, and I wanted to follow up and see if you folks had any plans over the next 3 to 6 months.
Oh, no. That was just, I just saw that. You know, it was just on the, I just saw it. I just was curious. That's all. We're not moving. No.
Right, so if you were to move at some point in the future, do you think you would stay here in the area or move out of the area?
Oh, no, we'd stay here. We've been here a long time. We're not, but we're not moving, really. We're not. It was just like a fluke thing. I saw it, and it, you know, but thank you, though.
Okay, and if you were to move at any point in the future, when do you think that might be?
No, we're not going to move, really. Thank you. We're just, like I said, we were just looking, and you know, it was just a kind of a fun thing to do, get an idea.
Okay, well, Adele, if I see your address on the hot sheets on MLS, I'm going to come and hunt you down. Don't say that. No, I believe you.
I think that's pretty. Actually, I think that's good. That's
you can think that, but don't say that, Adele.
Okay. That could be something I might revert to.
But with what you're saying and the tone you're saying it in, I don't know, Andrea, what do you think? I would believe the prospect. They're not moving. We are going to get some prospects, especially with bold leads. When I would offer the online home evaluation, sometimes on Facebook, we're going to get people, how about this, that are just curious to what their house is worth.
But on these people, do I go, you know, what? Sometimes I'll go and try to go with the, you know, follow up, you know, would you like a newsletter? Do you think that's a good idea, or I should just forget it?
You can, but the way your tone and what you're saying, I already know the answer. I can offer it. So would you like me to follow with you later time, Adele? I know what you're going to say. You're going to say what you've said to me 3 times already. No, Craig, maybe you need your hearing checked. I told you 3 times. We have absolutely no interest in moving. Like, I want you to be sure, but let's be reasonable about this. After the prospects told you 3 different ways that the answer is no, I'm just saying most people are not very good liars. I believe you. I don't think you're lying.
Okay, and just say, thank you then. But what you said something, now I forgot here. You said you put a little word in between there. Was it, if you were, I forget what you said. On
Yeah,
the,
sometimes I said if at some point in the future.
yeah, that, at some point in the future.
So I try to massage it so it makes a little bit more sense, because you're saying, no, we have no plans. So I just added the word in question 3. Well, at some point in the future,
Right, I like that.
if you were to move, when do you think that might be?
I like that a lot because it smooths it out a little,
Right. Because now you're not locking horns with them, right?
Right. Actually, that's very helpful. With those kind of people, I'm going to stick that in there because
you can. I call that softening the questions up a bit.
Yeah.
You can soften it up a bit. It gives you a bit more latitude. Because, okay, Adele, I understand you're not moving right now, but if at some point in the future you were to make a move, when do you think that might be?
Okay.
Well, everybody moves. That's not a ridiculous question. It might be, I had the one older gentleman, he said, I'm not moving until they carry me out of here in a box. So you don't want to follow that up with, great, when do you think that might be?
Oh, God. All right, well, that's very helpful. Just those few little words make me a lot more comfortable because I always get, stumped with that. Just when they interrupt me and go, no.
Look, I wouldn't worry too much about your feelings. I would rather, okay, maybe it's just me, I would rather the conversation be a little bit awkward, but I'm absolutely certain of their motivation and timing.
Perfect.
Right? So if it's no, this person might think, that you've got problems with your hearing, but at least at the end of the conversation that anybody that would say no 4 different ways to me like that, I'm pretty darn certain they're not a prospect, which means I don't have to bother with them anymore.
Right.
Next, right?
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, we should do some role plays here, but I'll take another question or two. This is from Lisa Nash. Lisa said, I would like to role play. I have a client who's actively looking using my Commissions Inc. website. I've tried to book an appointment before, but was unsuccessful. She has many high property searches, and I've spoken with her a few times. I want to meet with her and get her on a buyer agency agreement, and I've been trying for a few months. I need help with calling her now. Okay, here's the problem, Lisa. The cat is out of the bag. When you're sending her all kinds of information, and maybe even showing her homes, I don't know if you've been showing her homes, it's really hard to change the rules. Right? Because now you're saying, well, I know you've been getting access to all these properties, and just type into the chat there, Lisa, have you been actually showing her homes? Please tell me you're not showing her homes without a buyer agency agreement in place. No. Okay. And in capitals, too. No. Okay. All right. Well, at least we've got that understanding. So Lisa says, look, I'll send them a bunch of information, but I am not jumping in the car and wasting my time showing a prospect, not a client. They're not a client until they sign a buyer agency agreement. I am not doing that. Well, I'm proud of you, Lisa. But when the lead comes in from Commissions Inc., if you can call them right away and get them to meet with you, then they'll sign the buyer agency agreement. If they won't meet with you when you follow up with them right away, why are you continuing to give them access to Commissions Inc.? Because all you're teaching them is that you're willing to send them all this information without a meeting, right? Which contradicts what you probably said to them on the phone, right? You said, if you meet with me, I can get you priority access to all the hot new listings that match your criteria, including bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, distressed sales. So, it doesn't get easier. Don't be surprised if you couldn't get them to meet with you at the beginning when you started to give them access to the listings. It's not going to get better a month or two later. You know what the client says? Hey, Lisa, I'm good. But thanks. Thanks for sending me the information on all the homes. Eventually, I'll see one I like, and I might call you. Of course, I might not. I could call my cousin who's a realtor, too. That might work. But thanks a lot. Next question is from Joe. Joe says, what do you say to a seller prospect who said they just came off the market with another agent? Do you change or just continue? I don't think anything changes. Book an appointment. That's what we're trying to do. Well, you know what? Do we need to ask all the qualifying questions? I guess so, right? If you were to move, would you stay? Are you planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? They could say, well, you know what? We're so burnt out after being on the market for 6 months with the other agent. No, we don't want to move anymore, or we want to break for a year. So you got to ask the probing questions. Do you have a realtor to help you if you decide to relist your home? That's a good question to ask. So that's why we call this a universal callback script, because it really is universal. Doesn't matter what's an ad call, a sign call, bold leads, commission inc. It's the same process over and over again. That's why we don't call this the sometimes follow-up script. Next question is from Verlin. Craig, I get great commission inc. leads, but they're requesting to view properties as soon as possible and not wanting to meet first. Well, is that news to anybody? Because if it is, I just want to make sure everyone's clear. You see, the buyers, they don't want to meet with us. See, everybody know that now? They don't want to meet with us. What they want is they want us to give them access to all the properties with no strings attached. And preferably, they'd like us to run around and show them a whole bunch of properties, again, with no strings attached. That's what they want. But here's what we want. We want to generate a lot of leads because many of them will not play ball the way we want to play ball. See, the first decision you need to make is, how would I like my business to work? So we have these rules of engagement, and it works this way. We call the leads back as soon as they come in, and we make a really compelling offer after we've qualified them with the probing questions. And some of the buyers will agree to meet with us, and they'll sign a buyer agency agreement, and we're going to spend our time with those buyers. And the buyers that won't agree to meet with us, we cut them off of Commissions Inc., and we wish them luck because they didn't want to work with you, right? So you're going to respect their wishes. Alex in Newmarket says, regarding commission objections on listing appointments, what do you suggest we say when they say the other agent is going to give full services for much less commission? Well, look, at the commission conversation, Alex, shouldn't happen until you have done a good job presenting your presentation, communicating all your benefits. The better job you do communicating your benefits, hopefully the more the commission objection goes away, because price, the fee you charge, is only an issue in the absence of value. So you need to differentiate yourself when they're saying the other agent is going to provide full service for less commission. What is full service? You need to differentiate full service. Okay, so Alex, here's something that I've tried before. Let's do a role play with Alex.
Okay, hold on one moment while I pull up his line. Alex, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, Craig.
Okay, so we get to the end of the listing presentation, and we go to first the price. We go through the comparables, and I've got you to agree on the price. And now we're down to commission, and I say my fee is X amount. And what are they saying to you?
Well, the other person we had in here earlier said that they'll do it for much less than that, and it seems like they're going to do pretty much the same thing as you. Something along those lines. It's a little different every time, right? So.
Okay. Well, when I hear you ask about commission, Alex, what I believe you're really concerned in is who's going to net you the most amount of money in your pocket after the commission. In other words,
yeah,
you're more interested in what you're going to receive versus what the agent's going to receive. Is that a fair statement?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Now, I showed you my list to sales ratio, and for the last 6 months, I've been averaging over 2% closer to the asking price than the average real estate agent in the Newmarket area. Did the other agent show you their list to sales ratio?
No, they did not.
Okay. I also showed you, I demonstrated that I have 1,217 buyers that are currently looking for a home in Newmarket that are receiving listings from me on a regular basis. So, should you decide to list your home with me, it's, it sounds kind of crazy, but it's almost like I've been looking for a buyer for your home before you and I even met today. And I would send information out on your property to those buyers, those 1,217 buyers right away, should you decide to list with me. Sometimes we get a hit right away. I wanted to ask, did the other realtors you meet with, did they talk to you about how many buyers they're currently working with?
No, they did not.
No. Do you think, Alex, if they had a lot of buyers, they might have mentioned that to you?
No. One of the realtors actually said that they are working with a buyer in the neighborhood.
Well, how do you think you can get more money? By having an agent that works with one buyer, or a realtor like me that has over 1,200 buyers?
Well, of course, a realtor like you has a greater chance of selling my home.
Right, and that's what you're hiring your agent to do, Alex, is to create demand for your property, to market your property and create demand. You see, most real estate agents, what they do, Alex, is they try to convince you to list their home, your home with them, and then they're going to go out and they're going to start to look for buyers for your property. I have already 1,217 buyers that are in your price range looking in Newmarket. So when I say, should you decide to list your home with me, the very first thing I would do is I'd email information on your property out to the over 1,200 buyers. Sometimes we get a hit right away. Sometimes we get multiple inquiries and multiple offers on your property, meaning your home sells for more money and it sells much faster. Is that something that might interest you?
Well, yeah, of course.
What's the other company that you're considering, and you tell me? And I say, well, Alex, I know those guys, and I'm surprised they're even charging you that much. That's a joke, by the way. Don't say I'm being a little funny here today. Don't say everything I say today. But
I got it. The other company's Remax Omega.
Yeah, well, I used to work for those guys, and frankly, I'm surprised they're even charging you that much.
Yeah, well, frankly, yeah, I know.
Look,
you got me.
You've got to when they're saying the other agent's pretty much doing the same thing. Look, I call BS on that. There's no way the other agent's doing what you're doing. So you've got to go in there, and what it means, though, you got to take responsibility for this, right? What it means is they didn't get it. Your presentation failed, right? Your presentation failed to communicate the tremendous difference between you and this other agent that pretty much does the same. That's what they think. That's the battle. That's why we do the listing presentation, because all the sellers think, well, you guys are all the same, right? You all do the same thing. So because I think you're all the same, therefore, I should just make my decision on whoever tells me the highest asking price and the lowest commission.
Yep. You're right, though. Once you go back over the benefits and stuff that we do,
but not always. Every once in a while, they're like, "Well, I still don't see the difference." Okay, well, you're just going to make a bad decision, right? You're not going to get them all.
No, of course.
But the better you get at that presentation, the better you're getting it. So you want to have your list of sales ratio. You want to have your days in the market. You want to have your list of buyers. How about your guarantee? What guarantee do you provide sellers? What's your performance guarantee?
100% of asking price, which I'm trying to tweak a bit because Newmarket's, believe it or not, average sale price has gone over the last 12 months is over 100% now.
Okay, so how about this? I guarantee to sell your home for 105% of your asking price in under 7 days, or I'll pay you $1,000 cash. Is the other agent offering that?
Nope.
No. Here's what the other agent's offering. Well, I'll be the other agent, okay? Well, what we're going to do, if you list with me, we're going to place you on MLS, and you get our sign.
Yeah.
That's what the other agent's offering, right?
That's right. Yep.
Look, at this point in the game, Alex, you should be eating these guys up.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, you're right. We need a refresher sometimes, though, right?
Yeah, that's my job's to kick you in the butt every once in a while. But you need a pep talk.
That's right. That's right. Thanks, Greg.
Go get him.
Yep.
All right, my buddy down in Tampa, Ernest Van Glan. Everybody knows Ernest. Everyone likes Ernest. Ernest, I don't know. You're just a likable guy. Ernest says, Craig, do you trash a lead that unsubscribes from all communication on sync? They're never fully deleted from the system. If they come back by some chance, I would keep them in the system. Why delete them? So I would, in my contact management system, for example, Ernest, I might say, I call it a dud lead. I don't actually type in D-U-D, dud. This lead's a dud. But why eliminate the lead from the contact management system? Because every once in a while, somebody that was a dud, they're not motivated, becomes motivated. When the guy wasn't moving, now his wife is leaving him. He lost his job. Who knows? Things change. So why not keep the history? All right. Where are we here? This is from Carrie. Craig, could you share objection handling when you contact a lead and they're searching for one of their kids and they won't give you the kid's contact information? Good question, Carrie. That's the very first question I ask if it's a sign call or even an ad call. Are you calling for yourself? Why? Because, I don't know, in my 22 years of doing this, I never made a penny ever when they were calling for someone else. Yeah, we're calling for our uncle, our sister, our brother. I would say, well, look, could I have the decision maker's contact information so I can contact them and send them all the information? If they refuse to do that, Carrie, just give them the price or the bedrooms or square footage, whatever they want, and get off the phone. Just know, if they won't give you the decision maker's contact information, this isn't going anywhere. Just give them what they want, get off the phone, and say next. Okay, Timothy Kerrigan. I differentiate. Sync gives basic access with general search capabilities. When you want the hot deals off the market foreclosures, yes, of course we're going to do that. So Timothy says, well, I'm not calling the sync backs leads back. Of course I'm not calling them back and saying, hey, you know how you've been getting these emails from me and you have access? Look, why don't you come in and meet with me and nothing will change. You'll get the same. Of course you have to differentiate it. The point I was making today, Timothy, is it's better done at the beginning. Because here's what happens. Even though you call them a couple weeks after they've been getting access to all the listings, and you say, oh yeah, but I've got like different stuff and better stuff than what you're getting access to, because they've been getting access to everything, what they might say is, what I've been getting is pretty damn good. I'm, Timothy, I'm kind of good with what I'm getting here. You might have something that's even better than this, but you know what? It requires meeting with a real estate agent. So I'm pretty damn happy with this access that you're giving me. So I'm going to say no to you right now. That's why I like to do it right away. Okay, remember, you teach people how to treat you. We're setting the precedent. If the longer we give the buyers a free ride and we give them free access to everything, and the kiss of death, of course, is if you ever dare show them one of the homes that you send them. It's game over. You can't put the cat back in the bag. You've demonstrated to them that your time is worth nothing. How are you going to change the rules now? You're going to pull the buyer contract out, the hood of your car in the driveway of the home you just showed them that you deep down knew they weren't going to buy anyway? You're done. Okay. Daniel Pilson. Craig, how do we cut buyers off from Success website when we're allowing them to search there? Do we cut them off if they won't meet? Okay, look, here's one way you can cut the buyer off. Just don't call them anymore. But you can cut off their access, but you can mentally cut them off by just, I'm not going to bother with this buyer anymore. I've called them a couple times, they're not doing anything, but they keep coming back over and over and over again. I can't seem to get a meeting with them. If I can't get a meeting, I can't get a contract. If I can't get a contract, nothing good's going to happen here. Next question is from Stephanie Barrow. This CPVIP agreement form, is it really enough for buyer's commitment? Do I have to maybe absolutely sign a buyer's, do I have to get them to absolutely sign a buyer's contract mentioning the commission. No, here's the great thing, Stephanie. This is your business. You can continue to work with buyers without a buyer agency agreement. You can use my VIP buyer agreement. I invented that form. Why? Because when I was early in the game with this, and I pulled up the official, real estate association buyer agreement, I have to admit it freaked the buyers out. Like in California right now, I don't know how many pages your buyer agreement. Sometimes they get freaked out. So I thought, well, I'm just going to baby step them. I'll create my own little agreement, a one-pager, that basically says, here's what you're committing to. Craig Proctor is going to do this, 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 and this, and in return, you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you commit to this, this, and this, and this. And they sign it. Is it legal? Yeah. It's a contract between me and the buyer. Then I would pull out the buyer agency agreement, and I would say, well, this just reiterates what we just agreed to verbally and in writing in the VIP buyer agreement form with the state or real estate association form that was, written by lawyers for bureaucrats. Nobody really understands it. I always would love it when they'd say, what does all this mean? And I'd say, I have no idea. And I've been doing this for 20 years. Okay, Sarah Roy says, Craig, I get a little confused when my leads tell me they have a house to sell, but they want to buy first. Hold it. Craig, I got a little confused when my leads tell me they have a house to sell, but want to buyer first. I know they need a CMA as well, so I book an appointment to meet at their home to do the buyer presentation and the seller presentation, but what do I present first? Well, that's really smart. If they're buying and selling to combine the offer, Sarah, we all should be doing that. I think when I get to the house, I would ask them point blank. I'd say, Sarah, now look, I know I've asked you this over the phone maybe, but what would you prefer to do? Would you prefer to find your next home before you stick a for sale sign in your lovely house? Or would you prefer to kind of get it on the market, see what the feedback is before we get excited and about another, run out and show you other properties? Usually, they're going to have a preference, and you're going to lead with what they prefer. Raul says, Craig, do you make up the number of buyers that you have? No, you don't make it up. You should really have buyers. For those of you that are using Commissions Inc., I see the Platinum members going back and forth about this, but you actually can demonstrate right on your iPad in front of the seller. You can run off a list of the actual buyers, show them live. Here's the buyers I have. It's real. Okay. Back in the day, I had them all printed out. You could print them all out, right? That's the idea behind the lead generation system, is you're generating buyer and seller leads. Aren't we for years in real estate using the listings, the sellers we have to attract the buyers? You would say, well, yes, Craig, for 100 years, real estate agents have been promoting their listings to trick the buyers into calling them. Well, why don't we do the opposite? Why don't we use all the buyers we have to trick the sellers into listing their home with us? Tom Brown says, with Commissions Inc., there are prospects who have full access to all the links but never answer the phone so I can book an appointment, nor do they answer any of the texts or emails created by me. Should I cut them off? I would. They're useless to you. You can't talk to them, means you can't qualify them with the universal callback script. You can't determine their motivation and timing, and you can't articulate your offer, which means you'll never meet with them, which means they'll never sign a buyer agency agreement, which means in my mind they don't exist anyway. You just feel good because you can say, well, they're a buyer. They're a buyer, they're just not going to be ever one of your buyers. Lisa Nash says, do you ever use a follow-up drip campaign in sync or bold, or just stick to calling the leads? Of course, we're going to use all kinds of marketing, not to replace the phone calls, though, Lisa, to enhance the phone calls. See, I'm always a little afraid when I talk about Shai Schwartzman at Lifestyle Media. Okay, he has something called the Ultimate Converter. These are emails or videos that you're going to send out to your prospects. We have newsletters, we have email newsletters. All of these things are to enhance your follow-up, to predispose the buyers and sellers so when you talk to them, they kind of know who you are and you've created a bit of reciprocity. Maybe the odd buyer or seller might, pick up the phone and call you. But you can't get lazy about this. If you think the technology or the videos or the emails or the newsletter you drop in the mail is going to cause the fish to jump in the boat, you'll be sadly mistaken. Nothing replaces the one-on-one individual phone calls that you folks are making. I know that's what you want. I could lie to you and make you all would feel good about this. Oh, Craig, he's invented a easy button. It just won't work as well. Those of you that will do what I did, which is create a perfect week, spend 6 hours on the phone, just like I did every week, and you're really, really good at the script, you're going to make the most amount of money with this. For those of you that don't want to make the phone calls, you'll start to play with this in your head. And you'll say, well, maybe I can just hire some guy off the street to make the phone calls. Now, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, so I can't really teach this person how to do it right, but at least I'm not making these phone calls. Or I'll just mail them to death or email them to death, and eventually they'll call me when they're ready. You will be sadly disappointed. You will not get the result that you want if you think that way. Okay, where am I here? This is from a vet. I have a client that is selling their house with me and buying. Good. The listing is signed without a date. The client prefers to sell first, but wants to finish some repairs before listing the house. Repairs are not done yet because they want a handyman they know to do the work, and he charges them very little. The client thinks they will lose time if they start looking at houses to purchase now. I'm sending them houses to see because they need a house to move to. Well, look at a vet. What is the downside of the buyer looking at houses before they're ready to buy homes and educating themselves on what's going on in the marketplace? So by the time their house sells, they really are experts at what's going on in the market. Why would that be a bad idea? I mean, the opposite is, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do the research after we buy? I don't know. You shouldn't have problems getting a buyer, even a future buyer, signed to a buyer agency agreement using that argument. There's no downside to getting information, a lot of information, as much information as possible before you buy. Let's get you started now, even though I realize you won't be making a purchase for 6 months. John Lowe says, is it possible to show a sign call, the home they called on, and use that as a meeting to do a buyer presentation, or is it more effective to meet first? I work from home, and my office is not near my market. Okay, so what John's saying is, ring, ring, and call. And they want to look at my listing on Maple Street. And so my strategy is I'm going to drive over to Maple Street and show them a home that we pretty much know they're not going to buy. So now I'm in the driveway, and I'm going to find myself apologizing for them not liking the house that I really knew they weren't going to buy anyway. And I'm going to do my listing presentation, I don't know where, in the hood of my car. Not saying it can't work, John, but it is kind of cart before horse, right? Why would you want to spend time with prospects when you could fill your day spending your time with clients, where you have a contractual agreement that you're going to be compensated for your time? That's all I'm saying. If you have only one buyer in the world, like it's this ad call, sign call, and you absolutely can't compel them to meet with you, yeah, I guess jump in your car and run over and show the house. We already know 90% chance they're not going to like it. You've demonstrated to them now that your time is worth nothing. They can call you and you'll drop whatever you're doing and race across town and show the property. So now try to get my commitment. It's like, so what are you going to say to me now? Okay, now, from going forward, you know the thing I just did? We're not going to do that anymore. The buyer's like, well, why can't we just do this? Right? We're not married, and you're giving me everything I need. I like this deal. I like this deal way better than the new deal you're proposing. So how about no? Rick Brash types in, yes, 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 we should only work with clients. The next question is just frankly too long for me to read. Lisa says, okay, Craig, now you've confused me. If we haven't booked an appointment or spoken with them, then when do we cut them off? Well, you're going to try to speak to them. I'm saying if they answer the questions no, 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 and you don't like their answer, you don't need to follow them. You don't have to delete it. Just say dud lead and not going to follow up. If you can never reach them, then they've cut you off. You don't have to cut them off. So now I'm confused, right? You're either reaching them and you're using the script and they're answering your questions and you decide yes or no based on how they answer the questions, or you can never reach them. Well, if you can't reach them, then they're of no use to you. What are you losing? You're cutting what? You're cutting a client you're never going to talk to, never going to meet with, never going to sell them a house. So yeah, I would probably just disconnect their access because they're of no use to you. Now, there are things that you can do, by the way, to try to find their information. Right? How about Facebook? I don't know. Maybe you can reach them. Message them through Facebook. There's ingenious ways to do this. James is asking, do you cut off leads from Sync who said they have a realtor and 100% committed? You can if you want. Like, let's be honest, James, it doesn't really cost you anything if they access your Sync site. You're not going to make any money from them. If you want to be spiteful, you can cut them off. It's like, if I'm not going to get your money, you're cut off. You can do that. But, no skin off your teeth. Nancy, my buddy Nancy, in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It's not actually Cherry Hill, is it, Nancy? It's like a little town out there, but it's basically Cherry Hill. Nancy says, what time on Saturday did you make your phone calls? Okay, no, so Nancy, I wasn't brave enough to call them Saturday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning and wake them up. You could do that. I wasn't brave enough. So I would jump on the phone around, 9 o'clock, 9:30-ish. Also, I like to sleep in on Saturdays, got to admit. And I would call them till about 1. Why did I stop calling them at 1? Well, 2 reasons. First of all, I was tired. I don't like to make the phone calls for more than a couple hours at a time because my head gets low to the desk, and then I find myself not actually doing the script properly. I just want to get rid of the leads, right? Get through the list. How many of you relate to what I'm talking about? But also, I found in my town that around noon or 1 o'clock, they're leaving the house. They're going to the local mall. They're taking their kids to soccer, whatever. So that was really like a great time to reach people. So my scheduled callback periods were not random. Okay, it was based on when I had proven to myself these were the best times during the week to actually reach the clients. See, if I'm on the phone, I want to actually reach them. So you'll find for you and your community, there will be some time blocks that will be far more effective at the reachability of clients. That's the time you want to book. Dominic says, Craig, the real estate magic wand is the universal callback script. Amen, Dominic. That's the crazy thing about this. Can it really be this simple? Can it really be if I could just get you guys to master what you see on the screen here, you would all just make so much money? That if you should be delegating everything before you delegate that. I did. I delegated all the paperwork and the administrative stuff first. Then I delegated working with the buyers. Then I delegated even working with the sellers. I'd rather delegate the listing. I'd rather give the listing away to another one of my team members because I know I can teach them how to do that part easy. The hardest thing to teach them was to be really good on the phone. So I kept that to me. I didn't do it 20 hours a week. I did it 6 hours a week, but I was really, really good on the phone. I committed to 6 hours a week. I can do this. 2 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Thursday, a couple hours on Saturday morning. In exchange for 400 to 500 transactions, I said to myself, yeah, I can do this. That's a trade I'm willing to make. Okay.
Craig, why
Jordan.
don't we need to remind everybody of the marketing clinic tomorrow. We're running close on time here.
Okay, so what Andrea's politely saying is, Craig, you need to kind of wrap this up. So you're right, I didn't notice what time it is. You see, I'm having a really good time with this today, Andrea.
I can tell. It's a great session.
I don't want it to end, but we have to. So let's talk about tomorrow. So today is about like what to say to leads and how to get face-to-face with them. Tomorrow is about how to get the leads. Now, it seems to me in talking to some of you that you don't have an abundance of leads. So what happens when you don't have an abundance of leads, you kind of feel bad about, deleting a lead or just saying no or asking, pushing a little bit further the questions. I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to, I want you to feel the opposite. I want you to be empowered and I want you to get up every day and think to yourself, well, hell, I can't work with all these buyers and sellers anyway. I can't do it. I couldn't work with them all if I tried to. So I'm going to be very choosy who I spend my time with. And I'm going to use this universal callback script. I'm going to reach as many of them as possible as soon as the leads come in. And I'm going to determine who the best leads are. Those are the people I'm going to spend my time with. And I'm going to ignore everyone else and feel really good about it. So tomorrow you're going to upload your ads. Andrea is showing you how to do that. Just click on Ad Clinic there. Any other instructions, Andrea?
Well, it doesn't say here, but I've noticed we do not accept PDFs. So if you have a PDF, you can email me, Andrea at craigproctor.com, and I'll put that in the little chat box. But JPEGs and PNG type files, you can load those. Those are the only instructions I have.
Okay, now, Michelle typed in, this is one of the best sessions to date. Andrea, don't tell James. Let's keep this our little secret.
We have to.
We didn't even really do any role playing. But you know what was good about today? We talked about a lot of different situations. And so, I would have, what we did here is we drilled down to specific things to say in certain objections and how to handle certain situations. But a lot of what I did today with you folks was mindset, is I want you to think like me. If I get you to think like me, you'll start to do what I did. If you're thinking differently, if we're not congruent with our thoughts, then you're not going to do what I want you to do. And what I want you to do is make a lot of money and work with the very best buyers and sellers and have fun every day selling real estate. So I want you to make more money, and I want you to have more time, and I want you to have more freedom. And to have the freedom, you've got to have the money and the time. So we're going to wrap it up for today. Andrea, you did a great job. Sorry about the mean kids at the science fair this morning.
I think I'll be okay.
We'll see everybody tomorrow morning for the Ad Clinic. Submit your ads and look forward to seeing everyone there. That concludes today's role play. Take care.